Discovered my fiancée has been secretly recording my daily love voice messages and sharing them with her friends to mock me as pathetic beta behavior. I caught her red-handed this morning. So I just discovered something that has completely destroyed my trust, and I need to get this out because I'm sitting here shaking with anger and I don't know what to do next. My fiancée Sarah and I have been together for 3 years and engaged for 8 months, and I thought we had something real, but apparently I was just entertainment for her and her friends. For the past year I've been sending Sarah voice messages every morning when I leave for work because she's usually still sleeping, and I wanted her to wake up to something sweet from me. Just little things like telling her I love her or that I hope she has a good day or mentioning something I'm looking forward to doing with her that evening. Nothing crazy, just normal boyfriend stuff that I thought couples did when they cared about each other. She always seemed to appreciate them and would text me back saying they were cute or that they made her smile, so I kept doing it because it felt like a nice way to stay connected during busy workdays. This morning I forgot my laptop charger and had to come back to the apartment about 20 minutes after I left, and I could hear Sarah talking and laughing really loud in the bedroom, so I figured she was on a video call with her sister or something and I didn't want to interrupt, so I was trying to be quiet while I grabbed my charger from the desk. That's when I heard my own voice coming from her phone, and at first I was confused because I thought maybe she was just listening to one of my messages, but then I heard her friend Jessica's voice saying something like, "Oh my god, he sounds so desperate," and another voice that sounded like her friend Mia laughing and saying the way he says "Good morning beautiful" is so cringe. I stood there frozen because I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and then Sarah started playing another one of my messages and I heard myself saying something about how I couldn't wait to come home and make dinner together and her friends were just tearing it apart. Jessica was saying things like, "This is why men need to learn how to be actual men instead of these pathetic beta boys," and Mia was agreeing and saying, "Imagine being engaged to someone who talks like that every single day." Sarah was laughing along with them, and then she said, "I know, right? It's so embarrassing, but at least it gives us good content for these calls." I felt sick to my stomach and I wanted to march in there and confront her immediately, but I also wanted to hear more, so I stayed hidden and listened as they went through more of my messages. They had apparently been doing this for months, and Sarah had been saving my voice messages specifically to share them in what they called their cringe compilation calls, where they would mock their boyfriends and husbands behind their backs. They were analyzing my voice and the words I chose and making fun of everything from the way I said "love you baby" to how I would mention little things I noticed about her, like if she looked tired the night before and I hoped she got good sleep. The worst part was hearing Sarah imitate my voice in this exaggerated way that made me sound like some kind of cartoon character, and her friends were dying laughing and she was eating up all their attention and validation. They started talking about other guys they knew and comparing them to me, and Sarah said something about how she wished I would man up and stop being so emotionally available all the time because it was actually a turn off, but she didn't know how to tell me without hurting my feelings. I couldn't listen anymore, so I grabbed my charger and left again, but I was so distracted and angry that I could barely focus at work, and I kept replaying everything I heard over and over in my head. I've been sending these messages because I genuinely care about Sarah and I wanted to show her love and attention, and I thought that's what you're supposed to do in a healthy relationship, but apparently she's been viewing it as weakness and entertainment for her friends this entire time. When I got home tonight, Sarah acted completely normal and asked me how my day was and gave me a kiss like nothing happened, and I almost started yelling at her right there, but I decided I needed to be smart about this, so I told her I was tired and went to take a shower to think about what I wanted to say. While I was in the bathroom I could hear her phone buzzing with notifications, and I realized she was probably in another one of those group chats planning their next mock session. After dinner I finally confronted her and told her exactly what I heard this morning, and Sarah's face went completely white and she started stammering about how it wasn't what it sounded like and that her friends were just joking around and she wasn't really agreeing with them. I told her I heard her laughing and participating and imitating my voice, and she tried to say that she was just going along with it to avoid conflict with her friends, but that she actually loved my messages. I asked her to show me her phone and prove that she hadn't been recording and saving my voice messages, and she refused and said I was being controlling and paranoid and that I should trust her instead of accusing her of lying. I told her that trust was already broken because I literally heard her mocking me with my own ears, and she started crying and saying that I was overreacting and that all couples joke about each other sometimes and this wasn't different from that. We got into a huge fight where I was yelling about how this was a massive betrayal of privacy and trust, and she was yelling back that I was being dramatic and that I should be focusing on the fact that she actually stays in a relationship with me despite my clingy behavior instead of being angry about some harmless girl talk. She actually said that I should be grateful that she puts up with my emotional neediness and that most women would find my daily messages annoying and suffocating. I told her that if she found my way of showing love so pathetic and embarrassing, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married, and she started backtracking and saying she didn't mean it like that and that she was just trying to defend herself. I asked her again to show me her phone and delete all the recordings she had saved, and she said she would, but that I had to promise to stop being so intense about everything and to work on being less emotionally dependent on her. I'm sitting here now and I honestly don't know if this relationship can be saved, because how do you come back from finding out that your partner views your expressions of love as material to mock with her friends and then has the nerve to tell you that you should be grateful she tolerates you? I feel like such an idiot for thinking that sending sweet messages was something she appreciated when really she was just collecting ammunition to use against me in her little mean girl sessions. The wedding is supposed to be in 6 months and we've already put deposits down on everything, but I can't imagine standing at an altar with someone who thinks my love is pathetic and cringeworthy, and I definitely can't imagine spending my life walking on eggshells trying to be less emotional and loving just to avoid being mocked behind my back. Update 1. The situation has gotten completely insane and I need to update you all because what started as a betrayal of trust has turned into something that feels like psychological warfare, and I'm honestly questioning my sanity at this point. After my last post, I moved out of our shared apartment and stayed with my brother for a few days while I tried to figure out what I wanted to do about the relationship, and during that time Sarah was blowing up my phone with texts and calls begging me to come back and talk things through. She kept saying that she realized how much she had hurt me and that she wanted to make things right and that she had cut off her toxic friends who were encouraging the mocking behavior. I was still angry, but part of me wanted to believe that she was genuinely sorry, so after a week I agreed to meet her for coffee to hear what she had to say. She showed up with this whole speech about how she had been reflecting on her actions and realized that she had been taking my love for granted and that her friends had been influencing her to be cruel and immature. She said she had deleted all the voice messages and had told Jessica and Mia that she couldn't be friends with people who encouraged her to disrespect her relationship. Sarah was crying and saying that she loved me and didn't want to lose me over what she called a stupid mistake, and she promised that if I came back we could go to couples therapy and work on communication and that she would never betray my trust again. She even offered to show me her phone right there to prove that she had deleted everything and blocked her friends, and I have to admit that seeing her so broken up and apologetic made me think that maybe we could work through this. I told her I needed more time to think, but that I appreciated her acknowledging what she had done, and we agreed that we would take things slow and see if we could rebuild trust over the next few weeks. I moved back into the apartment, but I was sleeping in the guest room and we were basically just roommates while I tried to figure out if I could forgive her and move forward. For about 2 weeks things seemed like they were getting better and Sarah was being extra attentive and considerate, and she would send me sweet texts during the day and make my favorite meals, and it felt like maybe she really had learned from this experience and was committed to changing. I was starting to send her voice messages again, but they were much more cautious and less personal than before because I was still worried about being vulnerable with her. Everything fell apart again this past Monday when my coworker Jake showed me something on his phone that made my blood run cold. He said his girlfriend had sent him a video that was going around in some group chat and he thought I should see it because it involved me. The video was a compilation of fake voice messages that sounded exactly like my voice, saying increasingly ridiculous and over-the-top romantic things that I had never actually said. The messages were clearly AI generated, but they sounded so much like me that even I was second-guessing myself about whether I had actually recorded them and just forgotten. They had my speech patterns and inflection perfectly, and whoever made them had obviously studied my real voice messages very carefully to get the mimicry right. The fake messages were saying things like, "Sarah, my beautiful goddess, I worship the ground you walk on and I dream about your perfect feet every night," and other stuff that was designed to make me sound like a complete creep and psychopath. Jake told me that his girlfriend said the video was being shared in a group chat with about 30 people and that everyone was laughing about how pathetic and obsessed I was, and some people were even commenting that Sarah should get a restraining order against me because I sounded dangerous. I was mortified and furious because not only was this destroying my reputation, but it was also making me look like someone who would actually say those insane things. I confronted Sarah immediately and showed her the video and asked her if she knew anything about it, and at first she acted shocked and horrified and said she had no idea how someone could have gotten access to my voice to make those fakes. She suggested that maybe someone had hacked her phone or that one of her old friends was trying to get revenge on us for cutting them off, but something about her reaction felt off and I could tell she was lying. I kept pressing her and finally she broke down and admitted that Jessica and Mia had contacted her a few days after our coffee meeting and begged her to give them just a few more voice messages so they could have closure on their joke and move on. Sarah said she told them she couldn't do that because we were trying to work things out, but they kept pressuring her and eventually she sent them some of my newer messages just to get them to leave her alone. She swore that she had no idea they were going to use AI to create fake messages and that she thought they were just going to listen to the real ones one more time and then delete everything. Sarah was crying and saying that she felt terrible and that she was going to demand that Jessica and Mia delete the fake video and tell everyone that it was made up, but I was beyond done with her excuses and lies. I told her that she had betrayed me again after promising she wouldn't, and that giving my private voice messages to the same people who had already humiliated me was unforgivable regardless of what they did with them afterward. Sarah kept saying that she was trying to protect our relationship by giving them what they wanted so they would go away, but I pointed out that she was actually choosing her toxic friends over me every single time. We had another massive fight where I was screaming at her that she had destroyed my reputation and potentially my career because now everyone thinks I'm some kind of obsessive stalker who sends creepy messages to his girlfriend, and she was screaming back that I was being unfair because she couldn't control what other people did with the information and that she was a victim too because Jessica and Mia had manipulated her. I packed all my stuff that night and moved back to my brother's place and told Sarah that the engagement was off permanently this time and that I would be contacting a lawyer about getting the deposits back from our wedding vendors. She's been texting me nonstop since then, alternating between apologies and anger and saying that I'm throwing away 3 years over something that isn't even her fault and that I'm going to regret this when I realize that no other woman will put up with my emotional intensity. The fake voice message video is apparently still circulating, and I've had to deal with weird looks and comments at work, and I'm considering changing jobs because this whole situation has made my professional life uncomfortable. I'm also worried that this could affect future relationships because if someone Googles my name or recognizes me, they might think I'm actually the kind of person who sends those insane messages. Sarah has been telling people that I'm being abusive and controlling and that she's the real victim in this situation because I'm punishing her for her friend's actions, but I know the truth about what really happened and I refuse to let her rewrite history to make herself look innocent. Update 2. This situation has escalated in ways I never could have predicted, and my ex Sarah has completely lost her mind while I've been trying to move on with my life and build something healthy with someone who actually respects me. After my last update, I spent about a month focusing on myself and trying to rebuild my confidence and reputation after the fake voice message disaster, and I started going to the gym more regularly because I needed an outlet for all the stress and anger I was carrying around. My trainer Lisa had been working with me for a few months before all this drama started, but we had always kept things professional until recently when she started checking in on me about how I was handling everything with Sarah. Lisa knew some of the basic details about what had happened because I had to explain why I was sometimes distracted or upset during our sessions, and she was really supportive and encouraging about helping me focus on getting stronger both physically and mentally. She never tried to give me relationship advice or talk badly about Sarah, but she did say that anyone who would mock their partner's expressions of love was probably not worth my time and energy. About 6 weeks ago, Lisa and I started spending time together outside the gym when she invited me to join her and some friends for drinks after a particularly good workout, and I realized that I was attracted to her but also that she was just easy to be around in a way that Sarah never was. Lisa actually listens when I talk, and she doesn't make me feel like I need to tone down my personality or hide my emotions, and when I sent her a voice message one day just to thank her for being a good friend, she texted back saying it was sweet and that she was saving it. We started dating officially about 3 weeks ago, and everything feels natural and comfortable in a way that my relationship with Sarah never did, even in the beginning, and Lisa encourages me to be expressive and emotional instead of making me feel like those qualities are weaknesses or character flaws. She actually likes getting voice messages from me and sends them back, and we have actual conversations instead of me just performing love for someone who secretly thinks I'm pathetic. Meanwhile, Sarah has been stalking my social media and apparently figured out that I was spending time with Lisa because she started showing up at my gym during times when she knew I would be there for training sessions. The first time she came, she tried to act like it was a coincidence and that she had just decided to start working out there, but it was obvious that she was trying to see who I was with and what I was doing. Lisa was professional about it, but I could tell she was uncomfortable having my ex lurking around during our sessions, so I talked to the gym management and they agreed to ask Sarah to find a different location since she wasn't actually a member there and was just using guest passes to spy on me. Sarah threw a complete fit when they told her she couldn't come back and started yelling about how I was trying to control her life and that she had just as much right to use that gym as anyone else. Things got really crazy last week when Sarah somehow got Lisa's phone number and started sending her text messages claiming that I had been cheating on Sarah with Lisa during our engagement and that Lisa was a home wrecker who had destroyed our relationship. Sarah was telling Lisa that I was probably sending her the same voice messages that I used to send Sarah and that I was just using the same romantic script on different women because I was manipulative and fake. Lisa showed me the messages and we both agreed that Sarah was completely unhinged and that we should block her and ignore any further contact, but Sarah escalated things by calling Lisa's gym and trying to get her fired by claiming that Lisa was having inappropriate relationships with clients. Fortunately, Lisa's boss knows her well and didn't take the complaint seriously, but it was still stressful and embarrassing for Lisa to have to deal with that kind of harassment at her workplace. The most insane part happened 3 days ago when Sarah's father called me and said he wanted to have a man-to-man conversation about how I was treating his daughter and that he thought I owed it to their family to meet with him and discuss the situation like adults. I really didn't want to get involved with Sarah's family because I figured they had only heard her version of events, but he kept calling and eventually I agreed to meet him for coffee just to get him to stop bothering me. Sarah's dad started the conversation by telling me that he understood that relationships could be complicated, but that he was concerned about how I was handling the breakup and that Sarah was devastated and struggling to understand why I was being so vindictive and cruel to her. He said that Sarah had told him that we had broken up over a misunderstanding about some jokes between friends and that I was now trying to destroy her reputation and happiness out of spite. I tried to explain the real situation about the voice message betrayal and the fake AI videos, but he seemed skeptical and kept saying that it sounded like I was overreacting to normal relationship problems and that mature people work through conflicts instead of just walking away. He actually suggested that I was probably looking for an excuse to break up with Sarah because I had gotten cold feet about marriage and that I was using her friend's behavior as a convenient way out. When I told him that Sarah had been lying to him about what really happened and that she had betrayed my trust multiple times, he got defensive and said that his daughter might make mistakes but she wasn't malicious and that I was being unfair by refusing to forgive her and move forward. He also said that he was disappointed in me for parading around with a new girlfriend so soon after ending an engagement and that it showed a lack of character and commitment. I lost my temper and told him that his daughter had humiliated me publicly and destroyed my reputation with fake videos and that I didn't owe her or their family anything and that maybe if he had raised her to respect other people's privacy and feelings we wouldn't be having this conversation. He got angry and said I was being disrespectful and that he had tried to approach this reasonably but that I was clearly too immature to handle adult relationships. The conversation ended with him telling me that I was making a mistake by throwing away a good woman over pride and stubbornness and that I would regret it when I realized that Sarah was the best thing that ever happened to me. I told him that the best thing that ever happened to me was finding out who Sarah really was before I married her and that he should probably ask his daughter to tell him the truth about what she did instead of taking her word for everything. Sarah has been texting me since then saying that I embarrassed her in front of her family and that I had no right to talk to her father that way and that she's going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person I really am. She's also been trying to contact Lisa again and apparently drove by her apartment building yesterday, which is honestly starting to feel like stalking behavior. Lisa and I are talking about taking a vacation together next month to get away from all this drama, and I'm also considering getting a restraining order against Sarah if she doesn't stop harassing us because this has gone way beyond normal breakup behavior and into something that feels genuinely threatening. Final update. First, the good news is that Lisa and I have been together for almost 5 months now, and last month we bought a house together, which feels like the most natural and right decision I've ever made in my life. She loves my voice messages and actually requested that I send them to her every morning because she says they help her start her day with positive energy and that hearing my voice makes her feel loved and connected to me even when we're apart for work. Living with Lisa has shown me what a healthy relationship actually looks like because we communicate openly about everything and she never makes me feel like my emotions or expressions of love are too much or embarrassing, and instead she encourages me to be myself completely. We send each other voice messages throughout the day and she saves the ones that are particularly sweet or funny and sometimes plays them back when she's having a bad day because she says they remind her of how much we care about each other. The contrast between how Lisa treats my voice messages versus how Sarah treated them is so stark that I sometimes wonder if I was living in some kind of alternate reality for those 3 years with Sarah where I convinced myself that constant criticism and mockery was normal in relationships. Lisa actually asks me to record longer messages when I'm traveling for work because she says she misses hearing about my day and my thoughts and she wants to feel included in everything I'm experiencing. As for Sarah, the stalking and harassment continued for about 2 more months after my last update, and it got bad enough that I did end up getting a restraining order because she was following Lisa and me around town and showing up at places where she knew we would be and trying to cause scenes in public. She also continued sending threatening and manipulative messages to both of us, and at one point she actually tried to get into our new house by claiming to a neighbor that she was my girlfriend and that I was keeping her out illegally. The restraining order seemed to snap Sarah back to reality somewhat because she finally stopped the direct harassment, but then she started this whole social media campaign where she was posting vague messages about toxic men and how she had escaped an abusive relationship and how she was focusing on healing and self-improvement. She never mentioned me by name, but it was obvious to anyone who knew us that she was trying to rewrite the narrative and make herself look like the victim. About 3 months ago, Sarah announced on social media that she was taking a break from her life here and going to Southeast Asia to find herself and heal from trauma, and she's been posting constantly from Thailand and Vietnam about her spiritual journey and how travel is helping her discover who she really is outside of toxic relationships. Her posts are all about meditation and yoga and finding inner peace, and she's gotten really into this whole wellness influencer aesthetic where everything is about self-love and positive energy. The funny thing is that several mutual friends have reached out to me privately to say that they always thought Sarah was toxic and manipulative, but they never felt comfortable saying anything while we were together, and that they're happy to see me with someone who treats me well. Apparently Sarah had been talking badly about me to people for years and making jokes about my personality and behavior behind my back, so the voice message thing was just the tip of the iceberg of how little respect she actually had for me. One of Sarah's former coworkers even told me that Sarah used to complain about me constantly at work and would make fun of things I did or said, and that everyone in her office knew details about our relationship that I never would have wanted shared because Sarah treated our private life like entertainment for other people. Learning this actually made me feel better about everything because it confirmed that I wasn't overreacting and that Sarah really was someone who didn't respect boundaries or other people's privacy. Lisa and I are planning to get engaged next year, and we've already talked about what kind of wedding we want and how we want to handle our finances and future goals, and everything feels easy and collaborative instead of like a constant negotiation or performance. She encourages me to stay in touch with my emotions and to express myself authentically, and she's never once suggested that I need to change my communication style or tone down my personality to be more acceptable. We've also talked about the whole voice message situation, and Lisa thinks it's actually really sweet that I wanted to send Sarah loving messages every day, and that Sarah's response to that gesture says everything about her character and nothing about mine. Lisa says that the fact that I was willing to be vulnerable and expressive in my relationship shows that I'm emotionally mature, and that Sarah was probably intimidated by my ability to be open about my feelings because she wasn't capable of that kind of authenticity herself. Looking back on everything, I'm actually grateful that I found out who Sarah really was before we got married, because I can't imagine being trapped in a marriage with someone who viewed my love as material for mockery and who would betray my trust repeatedly while making me feel like I was the problem. The fake voice message incident was horrible at the time, but it also showed me exactly what kind of person Sarah was and what kind of friends she chose to surround herself with. My relationship with Lisa has taught me that there are people out there who will appreciate and value the things that make you who you are instead of trying to change you or shame you for expressing yourself authentically, and I feel incredibly lucky to have found someone who loves getting voice messages from me and who sends them back with the same enthusiasm and affection. The house we bought together has a home office where I record my messages to Lisa when I'm working from home and she's at the gym or running errands, and she's decorated it with some of the sweet notes I've written her over the months we've been together because she says they remind her of how thoughtful and caring I am. Having someone who celebrates my expressions of love instead of mocking them has completely changed how I feel about myself and my relationships. I haven't heard from Sarah directly since she left for Asia, but I know from mutual friends that she's been asking people about me and Lisa and whether we're still together, and apparently she's told several people that she thinks I moved on too fast and that my new relationship won't last because I have issues with emotional boundaries, which is honestly hilarious coming from someone who recorded private voice messages and shared them with her friends for entertainment. I'm writing this final update from the back deck of our new house while Lisa is inside making dinner, and I just sent her a voice message telling her that I love her and that I'm excited to eat together and talk about our days, and she texted back a heart emoji and said she can't wait to hear it. This is what a healthy relationship looks like, and I'm so grateful that Sarah's betrayal led me to this much better situation, even though it was painful at the time. For anyone who might be in a similar situation where their partner is making them feel bad about how they express love or communicate, I want you to know that the right person will appreciate those qualities about you and will never make you feel like you need to hide or change the things that make you who you are. Sarah did me a favor by showing me her true colors before we got married, and I'm living proof that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can actually be the best thing in disguise.